Welcome to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast, your guide to future tech trends and innovation in a language you understand. Now, over to your host, Neil Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast. It's my final day in Phoenix, and I've covered many miles whizzing around trying to find exciting tales. And from what I've heard, many are referring to this area as the Silicon Valley of the desert. And Greater Phoenix is promoting itself as where businesses come together to innovate. And before I came, all I knew about the area was that it is the heartbeat of driverless cars. But I now realise there's so much more to it than that. Blockchain technology companies in Greater Phoenix have found success and security while innovating in this emerging technology sector. And educational institutions are also producing the workforce to support its expansive growth. And one huge success story is that of Dash. And for people new to blockchain and crypto, Dash is a decentralised open source project with a governance and funding mechanism that fosters the creation of independent entities that serve the network. So while in town, I figured it was my duty to stop by their offices and speak directly with Dash CEO Ryan Taylor. So buckle up and hold on tight as I beam your ears all the way to Phoenix for one last time so we can speak with Ryan Taylor from Dash. So welcome to the show, Ryan. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Sure. So I'm Ryan Taylor. I'm the CEO of Dash Core Group, Inc., which is one of the largest entities serving the Dash cryptocurrency network. Dash is a payments-focused cryptocurrency that is very similar to Bitcoin, but we've built a number of improvements on top of it, including instant transactions, some additional privacy features, and we're really focused on ease of use. And so there's a number of use cases that we can address that Bitcoin can't, particularly at the point of sale, where most transactions still occur today, physical locations. Dash Core Group is one of many entities that are servicing the Dash network. We do a lot of the software development, especially for the core protocol that underpins the network. And we do a bit of business development and marketing as well.
Now, Dash does aim to be the most scalable and most user-friendly cryptocurrency in the world, and its network features instantly confirmed transactions, erasable transaction history, and a self-governing and self-funding model through incentivized full nodes. And we do have listeners in the crypto community listening all over the world that will know all about Dash, but equally there will be others that are completely new to the industry and find it a little bit intimidating. So can you help just ensure everyone listening is on the same page by showing what Dash is and what your grand vision is?
Yeah, so as I said, we're really focused on the payments use case. Different cryptocurrencies are aiming to address different needs in the market. There are smart contracts platforms, which are basically programmable networks in which programs can attach the cryptocurrency or value as those programs execute between various parties. There are store of value use cases, in which case people are looking to store their wealth and be able to recover it later. Bitcoin is kind of tending towards that, or a lot of people view it as a store of value primary use case. And there are other use cases like records retention or legal work that can take place on a blockchain and has a token or something that is used as a payment mechanism in that network. And so different cryptocurrencies are aiming to address different things. Dash is squarely focused on the payments use case. We do have a strategy as far as where we feel cryptocurrency plays best, and in particular where Dash is well positioned to play within the broader payments ecosystems that are out there. And cryptocurrencies have a number of unique attributes that no other payment method has. They're very similar to cash in that they're a bearer instrument. If I present you with a certain amount of cryptocurrency and transfer that to you, there is no such thing as a chargeback. These are non-reversible transactions. At the same time, they can be sent anywhere in the world through the internet. and at very low cost, very high speed. And so as permissionless networks, these are like gaining access to a bank account that you don't have to ask anyone's permission to open that account or provide any documentation similar to cash, but you get all those cash-like attributes over the internet. And that obviously allows cryptocurrency to play in certain categories really well. The categories we've identified, and in particular because of our instant transfer capabilities that work really well for Dash, are number one in the remittance space, so being able to send money cross-border and avoid all the fees of a Western Union or of multiple banking parties involved in a wire transfer. The second use case is in the cannabis space, where cannabis dispensaries don't have access to electronic banking. It's almost completely cash-based business, and cash handling costs are 15 to 25% of revenue for those businesses. And so we can not only reduce their costs, but also improve the safety of all of that, handling that amount of cash, both for the employees and for the business itself. There we're partnered with a company called Alt36 right here in Phoenix that is offering payment gateway services to merchants. The third category that we've identified is high chargeback industries, and we're starting with gaming. Gaming is an area that is wrought with fraud, and there are other categories like it, like nutraceuticals or online travel, where consumers falsely claim that transaction wasn't them. And so fraudsters target some of these types of categories because it's very easy to claim that charge was not yours. And so we're focused on basically allowing for consumers to instantly top up their fantasy sports account or something like that and be able to transact right away, as opposed to bank transfers, which can take days, or credit cards, which carry incredibly high fees because of that high chargeback risk. Fourth category is high inflation countries. Right now, we're really focused on Venezuela, where we have around 2,500 to 3,000 merchants signed up to accept Dash. And there we do really well because of the instant confirmations. It makes it possible for people to transact at a point-of-sale system and have that transfer go through right away. Bitcoin does well for online transactions, but if it's going to take 10 minutes, 15 minutes for a transaction to go through, I can't stand around at the grocery store waiting for that to happen. So what we're finding is we're addressing much more than the inflation problem. There's problems from equipment not taking the number of zeros that are required for a transaction, or limits on debit or credit card transactions, the inability to carry around that much cash. It's literally bags of cash to make a purchase. Mm-hmm. And so we're addressing real practical problems there in Venezuela as well. And then the last category is cryptocurrency trading. Cryptocurrency traders need to be able to move value between various exchanges quickly, particularly to take advantage of arbitrage opportunities. And because of the instant transfer capability of our network, we can enable that arbitrage to take place almost instantly without taking on the risk of, well, by the time my transfer gets there, am I going to be able to take advantage of it? And so we believe that we can capture a lot of the flow of value that occurs between various cryptocurrency exchanges around the world.
So I've come to see you at the Dash offices here in Phoenix today, but a question I've got to ask you is, why is Phoenix so attractive to blockchain companies such as Dash, especially when compared to areas such as Silicon Valley?
Well, I think there's a number of different reasons that all come together.
Yeah.
One is we have the university system. The university system, including both University of Arizona and Arizona State University, both have a presence here in the Valley. And they both are heavy into computer science and and have launched blockchain initiatives internally, whether those are student-led initiatives or the blockchain laboratory at Arizona State that we've partnered with. And so they're very supportive and actually understand the technology and understand the importance of it and are investing in it. I think the second is economic development organizations. The Greater Phoenix Economics Council is one of those that is nationally recognized as a leader in helping draw new enterprises to the valley. And so I think that they do a lot in some of these emerging technology type fields where companies are deciding where should we set up. Well, when you've got a great organization like that that's helping facilitate those connections and facilitate the communication about the attractiveness of the valley, that goes a long way. I think once the ecosystem is going here, we have a number of different companies that are located here. It's advantageous to be part of that community because you can create relationships with those other organizations, and it also develops a talent pool here. We've hired individuals from another project here in the valley called Sweetbridge, and I know that they've hired from us. And so when you have a more robust ecosystem, it attracts employees because they want to have choice, and it attracts employers because they want to be able to draw on a talent pool. And so it kind of has fed upon itself a little bit. And then a lot of those people are very entrepreneurial and go out and launch their own ideas for businesses. And so we've partnered with a number of different organizations here in the valley already and take advantage of all of those pools of talent. And so I think there's just a number of reasons why. It's also just an attractive place to live. It's easy to recruit people to move here when they just come for a visit and experience what Phoenix has to offer at a much lower price point than elsewhere. And so I think that it is a really attractive place.
Dash recently released its biggest upgrade since the governance system, called Dash Evolution 0.13. And the crypto community was getting pretty impatient waiting for it. But even your harshest online critics are saying it's pretty impressive, which has got to make you feel good. But can you tell me more about this Dash Evolution and why you're so excited just to get it out there now?
Well, Evolution is a series of releases that we're planning that basically make cryptocurrency much more user-friendly. I think the issue right now with cryptocurrency is it is very difficult to use. It's a lot like the early days of the internet, where there were limited use cases, poor user interfaces. Think of hyperlinks in text and maybe some 64-bit images or something like that on a page. It wasn't very easy to use, and it wasn't very rich in terms of the type of interaction that you got. And you look at cryptocurrency wallets today, and they are every bit as early as some of those early internet browsers. We don't believe that users should ever have to see a cryptographic address or any of the plumbing associated with how these networks work. What they want is a user experience that's familiar to them so that the learning curve isn't there. I should be able to sit down, open up an account within the network itself, create a username, and maintain a list of other usernames in a friends list. I should be able to send you a contact request, and you should be able to accept it. And once connected within the network, we shouldn't have to coordinate a payment outside the network going forward. The way it works today with Bitcoin is every time I want to send you a payment, you have to send me a payment address for me to send to. And then I have that is done outside the network. So it can be...
Then wait an hour, of course.
Well, yeah, there's the delay, but also there's risks there. Did someone intercept that email and change the address? Has someone impersonated you? And so whether that's through email or some chat application or something like that, I may need to verify that address through another means, calling you on the phone and saying, hey, is the address end in 27QR5? And if so, great, I'll send you the payment right now. That's not a very good user experience. And so what Evolution the Evolution series of releases is meant to do is to make this process that familiar process that they're used to, something very similar to Venmo or PayPal. And so I should be able to send a payment to your user address or even request a payment from you in a certain amount. And so Evolution is actually much more than that. It is adding new transaction types that basically enable anyone to build an application on top of the Dash network. And what that means is, instead of having to take my existing applications and rewrite them as a smart contract to run within a network like Ethereum, or instead of having to use a centralized service like a website in order to interface with the network, what this allows a developer to do is build an application, allow people to download it, and the application itself would store its user data, its transaction history, and all of that directly in the Dash network. So think of a application for supply chain.
Yeah.
Well, you've got PO numbers and bills of lading and delivery dates and all kinds of data that you might want to attach to a payment. You can't do that with Bitcoin. All of that has to take place outside of the network. With Dash Evolution, you will be able to build an application, have that application store all of that data right along with the payment or any other data that they would like to define within their own data hierarchy, their own data schemas, their own restrictions around what the data can contain, and have that data accessible to multiple parties on multiple different devices. And so I could see that same information on my smartphone, as my mobile tablet, as my computer, as the centralized system that is running my ERP or something like that. And so we're basically building completely new capabilities on top of the cryptocurrency itself and allowing developers to build any use case that they want associated with that payment. It just so happens that the first application we're rolling out is called DashPay.
Right.
And that is the very simple payment mechanism that I described earlier. It will allow you to store usernames of other users that you're friends with and transact with them very easily. But it's just the tip of the iceberg. We think that there's all kinds of use cases for a network platform like this that will take all the advantages of Bitcoin and make it much more usable for users, merchants, and for developers.
So while I've spent time in Arizona and chatting with the guys at GPEC, I've quickly learned that there's just a real hotbed of technology here, whether it be driverless cars, IoT, blockchain, and also that movement towards Web 3.0 and Industry 4.0. Is there anything that excites you about the current climate around Phoenix?
Well, I think there's a lot to be excited about. There is a emerging trend towards greater entrepreneurialism that I don't think I saw 10 years ago, 20 years ago. I went to Arizona State University for my undergrad and worked here for a number of years afterwards. And the climate was dominated by service companies, some industrial companies. Largest employer, I think, still is Honeywell, and a lot of tech, but more on the manufacturing end of things and so on. So tended to be very large organizations, and the climate now has shifted. Mm-hmm. It really is a dynamic environment in which a lot of entrepreneurs are taking the plunge. And there's a lot of support now in place for those people that are taking that entrepreneurial plunge. There are organizations like the one that we're sitting in right now. We're in SkySong, which is an incubator associated with Arizona State University. There's 4 buildings up already, and they're building a 5th that's quite large. And there are many other organizations that have sprung up to fulfill the needs of connectivity, of facilitating investor relations, of facilitating a support network. And I think that all of these things are coming together to create a really dynamic environment. And I'm seeing more and more successful startups sprouting up here and beginning to grow. And these aren't the same type of organizations that have been here in the past. These are high tech. These are on the cutting edge of technology. These are attracting people from like world-class organizations to come move here and participate in this kind of movement. And they're calling it the Silicon Valley of the desert. So I think that speaks volumes to kind of the direction things have taken here.
So anyone that has spent any time in the cryptocurrency subreddit will know that the crypto space has a bit of a problem with tribalism, and this is also arguably preventing mainstream adoption. I mean, what do you think the answer is as someone right in the heart of this space?
Well, there is a great deal of tribalism. A lot of users of one cryptocurrency think that theirs is the best and all others are complete garbage, and that tends to be very widespread point of view. The truth of the matter is that different cryptocurrencies do different things well or not so well. There are different use cases, whether it is microtransactions or consumer transactions or bank transactions or any number of other use cases that you could think of that will require different needs. And so I could not argue that Dash is the best cryptocurrency. The question is, for what?
Yeah.
And so I think that tribalism is misplaced. I think that when the dust settles, there will be a number of different networks that emerge, filling various niches or various large markets, and addressing those better than their competitors, in the same way that even within something as almost standard as the credit card, you have American Express following a very different path from Visa or MasterCard and being very successful at it. And so I think that you'll see the same type of thing emerge in the future. I don't think that tribalism is healthy. It does create a lot of confusion for newcomers. But honestly, I think that most of this technology is still too hard to use for your average consumer. And when we reach the point where it is, and where average consumers are coming into the space and actually leveraging this and using it as part of their daily lives, at that point the tribalism will go away. Because your average consumer doesn't care about the tribalism. They care about whether it works, whether it meets their needs, delivers value to their lives, and whether it is facilitating the transaction they need it to. And so I think Dash's goal has never been to try to capture users from other cryptocurrency networks. We're looking at the 99% that don't use cryptocurrencies as part of their daily lives and trying to figure out how do we fulfill some of the needs that are in that space. Mm-hmm. And so I think long term, I think the projects that focus on growing into the market that doesn't exist yet, those are the ones that are going to see the greatest level of success. Because the infighting just does nobody any good.
And interestingly as well, it's the communities where this tribalism exists, but the actual companies such as Dash, you're more collaborating with each other rather than competing. Is that right, would you say as well?
Well, we don't collaborate much with other cryptocurrencies, but we do collaborate with our integration partners that are providing services on our networks, and they are interested, for the most part, they're agnostic. They will support whatever users want them to support. They're there to provide a service on that network, whether that is as an exchange to be able to provide fiat on-ramps and off-ramps, or a broker to be able to facilitate kind of ease of use in and out of a cryptocurrency, or whether that is a merchant. They want to support what the users are trying to transact in. And they could care less about the arguments that take place between community members of various blockchains. And so I think that, I think early adopters are passionate, right? They see something, they really believe in it, they think that it's the right solution for them, and they want to see that. They're advocates. They want to see that get adopted by the mainstream. And so that's how that emerges. For whatever reason, in this space, I think it's amplified. I think that people really strongly believe religiously that their solution is the best.
And also, I think the Dash community expects regular updates, but equally, your partners will lock you down immediately, or even a potential partnership, even just talking to them, you'll be locked down with an NDA straight away. I mean, how challenging is it to find that right balance where you can update your community but also keep your potential partners happy?
Well, it's a very simple equation, actually. We want to be as transparent as possible, and so we share information as it becomes available to us to share, but we honor our contractual relationships and we behave professionally. What that means is that if we're in discussions with a particular merchant or a particular service provider, we're not out there spreading rumors that they're likely to integrate with us. Sometimes things don't work out. Priorities change, businesses go out of business, a lot of things can happen. We don't pre-announce. When things get to the stage where there's an announcement date or a go-live date for the particular service, and we're aligned with the partner on how we're going to communicate that's when we go public. And what you find is when rumors do get out early for whatever reason, a community member caught wind of something, or someone working at the merchant slipped and said something, or a web page gets updated prematurely. When that happens, it causes disruption. And so we know the importance of kind of working with our partners in a professional manner in order to get news or information or big reveals out in the right way. So it's actually not that difficult of a thing to juggle. Any other business would handle it the same way. Yeah. And so we handle it professionally.
So what's next for Dash? Is there anything else you can share with us about the road ahead for you guys?
Well, we are currently rolling out version 0.13. We're more than halfway there in terms of adoption. But we expect that to be fully adopted by the network within the next few weeks or so. Things are on track, basically there. So we're watching that. In parallel, we're working on 2 new releases. One is our version 0.14, which introduces a new technology called chain locks. And what that does is it basically prevents a certain type of attack on these networks that many smaller networks have experienced lately. There's a specific attack type that allows transactions to be reversed by the sender. And we're eliminating that on our network. We'd be the first network to be truly, it's called a 51% attack, and we would be the first network that would be 51% attack proof. Right. That obviously has great implications. One of the biggest is, right now, if I'm transacting and sending money, typically a service provider will require, say, 6, they're called confirmations. Basically what they are is blocks on the blockchain being found. They'll require 6 of those before they'll honor a transaction and credit my account. Those if those blocks cannot be reversed, like they can with this chain locks technology, there's no need to wait for 6. After the very first one, my account can be credited. And so that makes for a much better user experience. Instead of waiting an hour, my transaction can be credited almost right away, even if it's not an instant transactions, which our network also supports. And so that's rolling out with version 14. There's a lot of under the hood stuff that's happening with that one as well. And we're actually pretty far along with that release. Probably by the time version 13 comes out, we'll be ready to start testing it. Our next big release after 0.14 is termed version 1.0, and that is when the Dash Evolution platform will truly be in place. And we'll be releasing in parallel with that our first version of DashPay, which is essentially like Venmo, but for cryptocurrency. And so we're very excited about those two releases. We'll be doing a number of events in parallel with these in order to educate programmers on how they can take advantage of the Dash network. We'll be having hackathons and other events to try to ensure that the information is getting out there so that the ecosystem can start to build services and unique experiences on the Dash platform that no other cryptocurrency can support. So that's when I think things really start to get interesting, and when we can start to kind of expand out into what I would term your mainstream consumer.
And what kind of ballpark time is that? Can we expect that? I don't want to pin you down to a date, but roughly what kind of time this year?
Well, our cadence in the past has been a release about every 6 months. Yeah. Version 13 came out earlier this month in early January. I think the cadence of those releases will be picking up, though. I think version 14 will be a fast follow after version 0.13 gets adopted. I think we'll probably be on testnet in the next 8 weeks. And version 1.0 will be predicated on when version 14 hits, but probably a matter of months after that. And so I think that the cadence of these releases is really picking up. We've rolled out a number of new processes in our development organization to speed that up. And so I think those two will be in the near term.
Fantastic. Well, if we do have anyone listening that wants to keep up to speed with your developments throughout the year, what's the best way of keeping up to speed, getting involved with the community, and maybe even contact a member of your team if they've got any questions?
Well, the best place to start is probably our website, which is dash.org. And there are links to many other resources that are available. We have a forum where you can come and chat with other community members, participate in topics. There's a very healthy Reddit channel called DashPay, as well as our Twitter account, which is also at DashPay, where they can kind of follow news developments and so on. There's a great website called Dash News. There are links on our website to that as well. There's just a number of different ways that they can get involved, and a number of different social media channels that are available to the community to participate. Links to our GitHub, where all of our open source software is updated. And so there's a lot of different ways to get involved, as well as a team page. You specifically asked about how to contact the team.
Yeah.
There's a team page with links or with email addresses for our business development team, our marketing team, our developers, and so on. So lots of different resources that are all there on the website.
Excellent. Well, I'll add all those links to the blog post that accompanies this podcast, just so people can keep up to speed and maybe reach out and contact you guys. But more than anything, it seems like you've got an incredibly exciting year ahead, so I wish you the best with that. And just a big thank you for taking the time out of your day to come and speak with me today. Thanks.
All right. Well, thank you for having me on.
Ryan dropped some pretty exciting news in that interview there, and I think many in the crypto community have been getting weary that the final product was always on the horizon and just out of reach. But this year feels like we're starting to see real exciting tech and real solutions. So I'm going to be monitoring the progress of Dash this year very closely, but I'd love to know your thoughts and your insights. So please email me, techblogwriter@outlook.com, or tweet me at Neil C. Hughes. And finally, my big takeaway from Phoenix, after spending just a few days here and whizzing around talking to businesses in the area, is everyone seems to be collaborating to build this connected place. They're simply asking the question, what if the things that make your life easier could make the world better? So as a result, driverless vehicles is at the beating heart of this area, and I've personally seen quite a few of them on the roads. But there's also a thriving IoT subsector here. that is creating devices that are worn to track medical and physical conditions, in addition to creating devices for agriculture and farming to monitor crop and livestock conditions. From hardware and software applications, this Industry 4.0 sector in Greater Phoenix is also aiming on improving existing manufacturing and distribution capabilities. But growth in IoT also places an increased emphasis on cybersecurity due to the growth in data collected from devices equipped with all these sensor capabilities. Finally, of course, Web 3.0 technology is creating blockchain and crypto companies such as Dash, and they're really paving the way for new ways to do business. Sure, I've only been here just for a few days, but I've learned so much, and I hope you've been able to pick up just a few things too, and I'm genuinely interested in your thoughts about everything that you've heard. And if you think your city, your state, wherever you listen to this show, has also got something to be proud about, again, don't sit there in silence. Email me, techblogwriter@outlook.com, and let's get your message out there too. But it's time for me to get back on a plane to the UK now and say a big thank you for listening. And until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thanks for listening to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast. Until next time, remember, technology is best when it brings people together.